Ever wondered what would happen if all the water on Earth just vanished? Today, we're diving into the insane idea of a world without water. Sounds wild, right? Let's get into it. Imagine waking up tomorrow and poof, all the water on Earth is just gone. No oceans, no rivers, not even a drop of rain. Crazy, right? But really, what would that even look like? How would life as we know it change? Now, before you start thinking about your morning cup of coffee being impossible to brew, let's think big. Water covers around 71% of our planet. Without it, Earth wouldn't just look different, it would be different. You'd be staring at dry seabeds and enormous cracks where rivers and lakes used to flow. And let's not forget the animals. Fish, whales, dolphins, they'd be the first to go, obviously. No water, no life for them. But here's where it gets really interesting. Did you know that even land animals and plants wouldn't last long without water? Yep, water's not just something we drink, it's literally the foundation of life. But wait, let's not overlook something else, microorganisms. The tiniest forms of life like bacteria and plankton depend on water too. These microscopic creatures form the base of almost every food chain on Earth. If they disappear, everything else collapses. No plankton in the oceans means no fish. No fish means no bigger predators, and soon the ripple effect would reach us humans. This global collapse of ecosystems would be a ticking time bomb for life on Earth. Okay, so what would happen first, you might think? Sure, we can go a day without water, but spoiler alert, you can't. Without water, life starts breaking down pretty quickly. Your body relies on water to keep everything working. Digestion, circulation, temperature regulation, even your brain needs water to think clearly. In fact, did you know that humans can only survive around 3 days without water? That's right, 3 days and we're done for. Now, that's if we're talking about individual people. But what about society as a whole? Within hours of losing water, chaos would start to spread. Food, gone. Crops would wither in the fields without irrigation, livestock would have nothing to drink, and all those water-based industries, fishing, agriculture, manufacturing, would shut down. Think about it. No water means no food, no energy, no hygiene. You can bet there'd be a scramble for the last remaining bottles of water at the grocery store. And even worse, with no water to drink, hydrate crops, or cool us off, temperatures around the world would rise. Yep, water plays a huge role in regulating Earth's temperature. Without it, global temperatures would spike, and fast. You see, the oceans don't just sit there looking pretty, they absorb heat from the sun and release it slowly, helping to keep our planet's temperature in check. Without that massive body of water, Earth would turn into a sweltering oven by day and freeze over at night. No water vapor in the air also means no clouds, which leads to zero rain. Yep, that's right. Clouds are made of tiny water droplets. With no clouds, we wouldn't get any shade from the scorching sun, and there'd be no rain to cool things off. Ever thought about what would happen if it never rained again? Really? How long could we survive? Think of Earth without water like trying to live in a desert 24/7, and we all know what happens in deserts. Nothing grows. Even the toughest plants would wither and die. Goodbye forests, crops, and oxygen. It's worth noting that without the cooling effect of water, our weather patterns would go haywire. Tornadoes, hurricanes, and heat waves would become way more extreme, especially in areas that were once near large water bodies. The coastal cities that once enjoyed milder climates because of the oceans, they'd be the first to experience unlivable conditions. New York City, San Francisco, Tokyo, these places would transform into scorching, dusty wastelands. We'd see unprecedented natural disasters on a regular basis, and humanity would have nowhere to run. Now, let's get into the real tragedy, the mass extinction. Imagine a world where nothing green exists anymore. That's the world that we're headed towards if all water disappears. Every plant, from the smallest blade of grass to the mightiest redwood, needs water. Without it, they wouldn't stand a chance. And animals, well, things aren't looking much better for them either. A few desert animals might hang on for a bit, but even they rely on the occasional drops of water from plants and moisture in the air. No water, no plants, no food. It's a vicious cycle. From polar bears to kangaroos to birds to insects, they'd all disappear in the blink of an eye. What's even more chilling is how quickly this extinction would happen. Within just a few weeks, the planet's ecosystem would unravel. Species that can't adapt fast enough to find new sources of water or moisture from food would die out rapidly. Even humans, who are at the top of the food chain, wouldn't be immune. We'd be watching the world around us crumble in real time, knowing that without plants and animals to sustain us, our own extinction's inevitable. It's not just about thirst, the loss of biodiversity would trigger a collapse we wouldn't be able to reverse. But let's not forget about us humans. What would society look like in a waterless world? Well, it's safe to say things would get ugly and fast. No water means no sanitation. Cities would become breeding grounds for diseases as people scramble to find any source of water, dirty or not. And what about energy? No water means no hydroelectric power, no cooling systems for nuclear plants, and no way to keep most factories running. The lights would go out, the internet would fail, and the entire industries would collapse overnight. Government? They'd have their hands full trying to manage mass migration, as people desperately tried to move to the last livable zones, if there were any left. But here's the kicker. There's really no place to escape to. Without water, even the most advanced technology couldn't save us. Okay, so what would Earth look like after all the water drained away? Without oceans, rivers and lakes, we'd be staring at dry, cracked land stretching for miles and miles. Think Mad Max or the Martian landscape. It wouldn't be pretty. Here's something else to blow your mind. Water actually shapes the landscape. Over millions of years, rivers have carved out valleys and glaciers have shaped mountains. Without water, erosion would grind to a halt. Instead, dust storms would sweep across the planet, carrying particles far and wide. Without vegetation to hold the soil in place, the world would literally blow away bit by bit. But what about underground water or ice caps, you might be thinking? Well, we'll just use that, right? Well, not so fast. Underground aquifers would run dry pretty quickly once people started drilling them for survival. And as for the ice caps, with the sun beating down and no oceans to reflect the heat, they'd melt away in no time. And with the melting of the ice caps, there'd be one last horrifying consequence: rising levels of greenhouse gases. You see, much of the world's CO2 is stored in ice. Once that ice melts, it would release these gases into the atmosphere at an accelerated rate. The result? A runaway greenhouse effect that would bake the planet even further. Because really, we might not be facing a scenario where all water disappears tomorrow, but clean accessible water is something we all need to fight for today. Thanks for sticking around. If this video got you thinking about water in a whole new way, drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more mind-bending videos like this one. Until next time, stay hydrated.